So a typical response I get from people that do my programs is the lack of core training that I typically use. And the reason is because I think it's fairly useless. Now, like in the college setting that I work in, you kind of have to do things to, I guess, keep people happy or like, it's kind of a mix. It's not like a prison where I'm like, you got to do everything that I want you to do. But with time that I can see good effort and trust from athletes, it's like, hey, what else do you want in the program? They'll typically be like, I want more core. We should do more core training. And in my head, it's like, well, this ain't doing anything for you. And sometimes people don't care. They just want to look good. So whatever. But yeah, in most programs that I write, there is not very much core. If you want to like have the 6-pack or the 8-pack showing whatever, like get on a diet where you could cut your body fat and it'll look pretty good. But if we talk in terms of performance, like sprinting faster or jumping higher or just being stronger in general, more explosive athlete, I don't think the typical core training is doing a whole lot for you. Now, in my recent program, I wrote the vertical jump protocol. I did put a core circuit. I think it was 1 or 2 times a week. But I looked at that more for like activation, for like just kind of getting some stability out of your core with like the rectus abdominis with planks and then side planks. And actually, when you do all of that core activation circuit, your hips are a little bit more mobile and your knees might feel a little bit better too, because now that area of the core is more active and kind of doing its job kind of the way it should be. But it's just like a purely activation type deal. So if we look at like, we say we want to get a strong core. So ways to actually measure that through RPR, reflexive performance reset, is we do like a sit-up test. Someone would hold the pot of a sit-up and then we'd like pull them down. And actually people will use their neck for the strength of the sit-up. So you actually press on their head and then they kind of collapse. Or they can stand up and we grab the back of one shoulder, press on the chest, and we rotate, and then we rotate the other way. And typically people are pretty weak. And then actually the activation for that is to like hit the adductors and then rub them, which is kind of weird. Is probably in maybe one of my videos I have that. But it's actually pretty cool that really activates the core. But anyways, like that's a way to like test core strength. And like when I actually got the RPR and the B activated from the University of Minnesota. I interned there after my master's, and Cal Dietz, he actually talked about this in like a podcast, or maybe it was a seminar or something. He said the only people that he's ever tested that didn't have weak cores were strongmen, and he attributed it to, now they're strongmen, like they're strong in general, but he in his mind attributed it to the yoke walk that they do, where they put that yoke on their back and it's like 1,000 pounds and they walk with it for a certain distance. So Cal was like, well, I don't have a yoke, so what I do with my hockey guys is like we do a farmer's handle, and they just walk with it like 20 yards and then switch arms and walk back. So it's super heavy. You're holding it on one side and you walk down and you switch arms and walk back. So if we look at all of the things we try to accomplish in core training, like anti-extension, anti-flexion, anti-rotation, anti-lateral flexion, this farmer's walk deal kind of hits a lot of, and actually it's super intense. It's way more intense than like a plank or a side plank or a Palloff press or something. Not to say those are useless, but I don't think those are strengthening your core as much as like that heavy one-arm farmer's walk. So when people like we'd say, I need to get a strong core, that's a pretty good exercise to strengthen your core. And then maybe you're like, oh, I just feel it in my wrist. Like, well, it's going to strengthen your wrist. And then over time, your wrist, but from holding weights and from, I guess, doing deadlifts and holding weights or just holding things for long enough, your wrist will get strong enough where like then that will probably start exhausting your core more than it's going to exhaust your grip. Or you could use chalk, or you could use straps. But I don't really get to the point where I have to use straps. But that's a great exercise for core strength. Not all of these circuits where like you can hold a plank for 5 minutes. Like anything you do for 5 minutes is that actual strength, like maximum strength. Like not really. It's not even really approaching maximum strength. Sure, put a bunch of plates on your back or something, but like I just don't really agree with all of that. I use it for the activation side, but if we want the strength side, let's do that. And at the same time, like if, I guess, take me example, like I deadlift 600 and I'll squat 500. I do not have a weak core. And I actually not just those. If I just did those two, maybe I'd have some compensation pattern. But like, I do the back squat and the front squat. And now I'm getting into like a Zercher squat or like a sumo deadlift, and then a bunch of single leg work. like I do trap deadlifts too, but like Bulgarian split squats or safety bar split squats where I'm holding on the front. So I do a variety of these exercises where my feet are on the ground, and I have to like, I mean, my spine is loaded with these exercises, but like your core has to be super strong to be able to support that and put force through your legs. No one with a weak core is gonna stand under like squat 500 pounds, you know, or no one's gonna pick up 600 pounds if they have a weak core. So these exercises are strengthening the core, where then you get in your sport, and you're not someone who you could look at and be like, oh, he's weak, or oh, he has a weak core, if you can specifically tell that from them playing their sport. So yeah, if you want to get a strong core, get better at the compound moves. And the one-arm farmer's walk is a pretty intense, great exercise that you'll definitely feel in your core. Anyways, that's all I got. See ya.